Welcome back to the Momentum Sports Podcast. If you're new here, please consider hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button. Comment down below your thoughts. Derek and I love talking about college sports, especially college football and college basketball. We're excited to get on to this next topic that you came here for. So let's get it. All right, Derek. It's been a long holiday season. We're
Mhm.
finally back to do a full video reactions of playoffs, regular season, just how everything went down at the end. Let's talk a little bit about Colorado here. Let's do kind of multiple parts. The first is, do you think that Colorado fans should be disappointed? I think that you should be happy with this season, but like, was there a point of this season that you're like, we need to make the Big 12 championship or bust? Because they were playing pretty good ball for a little while. Where was it kind of a disappointing ending, do you think? Or would you still feel like that was a good season that I want to talk about if you're a Colorado fan? Um, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It was a disappointing season because you're here to compete for a national title, and national title access is so much easier than it has to be in the past. You can't complain anymore. All you have to do is win. And if you win out, you go undefeated. I promise you this. If you're not in the playoffs, especially this year, Liberty would have made the playoffs if they went undefeated. They didn't go undefeated. And they were probably in the worst conference of them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you go undefeated, you have a good chance of getting in a 12-team playoff. It is very likely that's going to happen. They're already talking about still having automatic bids, but not the top four seeds. So or top five automatic seeds. Now, with Colorado here, they just have to do what they gotta do, rebuild because they're losing Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter,
Yeah.
and Travis Hunter's probably going number one or number two. Um, here's the crazy thing is I believe Cam Moore gets picked up before Shador Sanders. I don't even think Sanders wants to go to Cleveland. Cleveland sucks, and no offense at all, but that's where quarterbacks go to die. And I see a good possibility there's an Eli Manning repeat of this. I'm not going here. You can draft me, but I'm not going to play. I'll sit out a whole year. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen uh, with uh, with Cleveland if they do draft him, because the Giants probably want to draft him. They really want to go to somewhere like the Las Vegas Raiders. Who wouldn't want to be with the Raiders and have Tom Brady teach you the ropes because he's partial owner of the Raiders. He's a minority owner, but yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a great spot. But we'll see how things go. I think it could very well happen. And go Buckeyes, right? It's one
Well,
way to jinx that team
let's
today.
yeah, let's stick on topic here. Um, I don't know, because I have mixed things about Colorado, because I do think that they beat expectations, but at the same time, when you look at their schedule, you're kind of like, well, you should win all these games. Like, if you have a Heisman Trophy winner, shouldn't you beat? Let's see here. They dropped Kansas State. Shouldn't you beat Kansas State? Shouldn't you win at Kansas? Shouldn't you beat Nebraska? You know,
Mhm.
uh BYU is kind of up in the air. Oh wait, no, that was the sorry, that wasn't the first game. I was looking at the schedule wrong. They put the bowl game at the first game of the season. Um I don't know. I mean, and they finished with a loss. They got walloped by BYU, and both Shador and Travis Hunter played in that game.
Yep. Biggest mistake Travis Hunter could have ever done because you can. You're. It's not. Here's the thing: you're not making the playoffs, so you have nothing to prove. You're going to be the number one pick, probably number
Yeah.
two pick. Why jeopardize a
I
meaningless
don't know. I
game?
think that's cool that he played. I think that they need to.
It's
I think that that's cool that he played. I think that there need to be more players like that because look, man, like that whole injury thing, it kind of makes sense, but at the end of the day, finish the season. You know, not everybody gets to be a college football player. Not everybody gets to play these games, and when you're sitting out, you're missing out on opportunities. Especially like these bowl games could be so cool. Like it's such a big event, and these players are kind of taking this stuff for granted, in my opinion. And I actually admire Hunter and Shador for doing that. I've been a little bit of a Colorado hater this whole time, but I do admire them for doing that. So I'm going to disagree with you there for deciding to play. I actually like that. I like that a lot. And finishing out the season, even though they got smacked, at least putting the pads on, finishing the season, I think that that's pretty cool. But Derek, Colorado moving forward, your prediction is he's going to the Raiders. And because of that, he's going to lose some of his draft stock a little bit, or he's not going to be selected as early as people think, according to you, if that prediction happens. And I guess moving forward to next year, as a Colorado fan, what's the expectation based off of how this year ended?
depends how his recruiting goes. Did his recruiting go well? I don't think it did. You know whose recruiting's going well? Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Ohio State. You know the usual. You know what? Until you get up there in the top rankings and do well in recruiting, you're always going to be there. Just like, what if I can make this? What if I can do this? You know, but we all know the usual suspects up there is usually Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, and sometimes you'll see other people, other teams up there. But no, I actually think they need to improve on the recruiting and not get in transfer portal like they usually do. Doesn't help them, you know.
So
The top five
Colorado
is
has the
well,
eighth ranked.
they're not in the top five. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
Once you're
they
in the
do have
top
the
five,
eighth ranked transfer portal.
it's a good push, but still not good enough. You
8 4 stars.
8 4 stars. How many does Texas have? Five stars, right? Is that right?
Five four
Or
stars
is it
and 1 5 star.
okay? Those rankings are wrong.
This is 24/7 sports.
Is it updated? Because last time I checked, Texas was number one. They had
Last updated 1/07. So that's today, November. January the 7th, the date of this recording. So yeah.
did they
Now this is the transfer portal. You're talking about
oh
the high school class.
yeah. You need to be a high school class.
Dude, the high school
You do.
classes don't matter very much anymore. It's the transfer portal that matters. If you're not in the
No,
transfer portal, you're not getting with the
it worked out.
program.
It worked out for Texas. Simmons is for one true freshman All American. He's gonna be
Texas
there for
hasn't
two
played
more years.
anybody.
He it don't matter. That guy's a true freshman. He's gonna get better.
All
It's
right.
like
Well, let's close out this segment. Let's not get on to Texas because we're gonna talk about them in a future episode. Don't worry, Derek. Um, any closing thoughts on Colorado though? So what is your win count? Like, what do they need to pass to be a successful year next year?
they're in rebuilding mode, so I guess 9 wins. Seriously,
All right.
you don't have your
Derek's giving
yeah,
it tough to you guys. You guys got to get at least 9 wins rebuilding.
yeah. It's it happens to the best of us,
I
man.
think it's
You
doable
know,
in that conference too. I think it is doable. Um, yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to see then. Derek, where are you putting your money on? Over or under? 9 wins.
but I'm gonna say the over because Dion knows how to motivate his players.
Look at that. After all that crap talking, he's coming back and he's taking the over.
Yeah, but they always get transferred. Transfers go and do so much. You know, you want to establish core and not have a guy running around team between team.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Derek, this is a discussion that is going all over college football right now. Dare I say it? Is the
Hmm.
SEC an overrated football conference right now? Me, for example, all year long, I was over there defending the SEC. I was saying that it's not even close. The Big Ten is nowhere near the SEC whenever it comes to the depth of the conference. Um, I don't really know anymore how I feel about that because Texas is the only SEC team left, and their road to get there was Clemson and Arizona State. While Tennessee got obliterated by Ohio State, who then obliterated Oregon. Um, and then Georgia loses in their first and only game, or yeah, their only game, uh, against Notre Dame by double digits. Georgia, I'm pretty sure going into the bracket was the favorite to win the whole thing. Before any games were played, I think Georgia was the favorite. They go in, get knocked out. Two SEC teams are out. One is left. And it's kind of uncertain what Texas is going to do against Ohio State. Before round two of the playoffs, Texas would have been a hypothetical matchup predictor had Texas at -1 over Ohio State in that matchup. After round two, Ohio State opened at a 6-point favorite. It's now at 5.5 while we're recording this on January 7th. With that being said, and also Penn State's still in this. Now Penn State's kind of like Texas. They played an SMU and a Boise State. And they're going up against Notre Dame. So two Big Ten teams are in the last four spots. One SEC team and two SEC teams have gotten knocked out.
Hmm.
With all that being said, and Bama losing to Michigan, let's throw that in there. Is the SEC overrated? Is the Big Ten a better conference? Or if the SEC is a better conference than the Big Ten still, even after talking about all this, how big is the gap between the SEC and everybody else?
Well, I'm not sure just yet. I
Yeah,
mean, Ohio State did beat Tennessee. You know, Texas didn't play them. You know, Michigan beat Alabama. Texas beat the crap out of them. You know,
good
and
point.
Missouri beat Iowa, who is a Big Ten team. So, and then you got South Carolina, who lost to Illinois, but beat Clemson. So we don't know there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but you take the fact that Texas and Arizona State was a close game, and Arizona State came back and they should have won. Well, I can't really say they should have won. It was looking that it was going that way.
Well, I wasn't
Who
expecting you to
kn-
say that. That's awfully big of you, Derek. I was not expecting that. I know what you mean.
uh,
Not like should have won, but they would have been in a very good position to win
yeah,
if that
it would
call
have been.
was yeah.
But here's the thing: there hasn't been a legitimate Big Ten and legitimate SEC team that have played each other in the playoffs yet. And Ohio State lost to Michigan. Texas beat Michigan. Ohio State has struggled. Same has Texas. Who's going to show up? Yes, Ohio State has dominated, but who's going to show up? Is Texas going to show up?
Yeah.
Or is Ohio State going to show up? That's the question. I think any team can win this game, you know, because you
Yeah.
look at the points I've been making, how Ohio State lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
Texas beat Michigan at their house,
And
you
and
know.
Texas has the athletes to compete with Ohio State.
Right.
Ohio State is not going to out athlete Texas. It would strictly be coaching. It would be having
Hmm.
those certain players in certain positions and schemes and all that. I I do think that Ohio State may have a slight edge talent wise to Texas, but is it a big enough gap that it really makes that big of a difference? I don't think so. I
I
think
don't
that it
think so
should
either.
be like a very close one possession, maybe 3 point difference at most.
And here's the thing: Texas knows Will Howard. They played him
Right.
four. He's lost him four straight times before he went to Ohio State this year. And
Yeah.
you got to understand, Ohio State hasn't played against a secondary defense like Texas.
Yeah.
This is the best secondary defense Ohio State will have played probably this whole for the rest of the games. If they lose, they'll be the last, and then they'll have to play Texas again in their next game.
Yeah.
But uh, I don't think the receivers are going to do what they've done with other teams because of Texas' secondary doing so well,
Hmm.
and Texas front four is really good too. They gave Arizona State's quarterback so much pressure. He was running like his life was like he was, you know, how would I say it? Like he was about to lose his life, and he had to do was run or he's dead. That's what it
Yeah.
looked like to me. This is not going to happen. Will Howard's not going to be able to do that. You know,
Yeah.
he's not going to move like that. And Texas knows how to play against Will Howard. You
Yeah.
know, the only difference is he has a better line. That's the only
Mhm.
difference. But he does have nightmares when he goes to bed and remembers all those games that he lost to Texas. And yeah, but no, as a Texas fan, I'm always going to pick them to win. So I
Yeah.
do predict
So
they're going to win.
so let's do some scenarios here. Texas beats Ohio State. Notre Dame beats Penn State. Would
Best
that
scenario.
justify the SEC a little bit better if that
Oh yeah,
happens?
oh yeah. It would shut everybody up. It'll be an asterisk in a way because
Mhm.
Texas probably should never been there.
Mhm.
But in the end, if we don't look at that game and you're just putting two teams heads up, that's the whole point to see who's better.
Right.
Then yeah, I would see them as better than at least everybody will say, well, there will be that little hashtag, the asterisk say, well, yeah, we're going downhill till you brought Texas in.
Yeah.
So that's what they would say.
Yeah,
So
no, I know what you mean. Um so now let's flip the script a little bit. Let's say that Ohio State obviously if Ohio State and Penn State win, there's a very legit argument that the Big 10 is doing very well. That they
mhm.
are building championship teams. If Ohio State and Penn State both lose, we were saying, you could make the argument the SEC is still king. However, what if Ohio State wins and Notre Dame wins?
If Ohio State Notre Dame wins,
Yeah, so
well,
Penn State loses to Notre Dame and Ohio State beats Texas. There's one Big Ten team left, no SEC teams left, and Ohio State knocked out another Big Ten team. So one Big Ten team lost to another Big Ten team, and then one Big Ten team lost to independent Notre Dame. in that scenario, if that were to happen, Ohio State, Notre Dame moving forward to the national championship, is the SEC still king?
Nope. It also
Okay.
depends how badly Notre Dame beats Penn State. If it's a real close game down the wire, then yeah, the Big Ten is better than the SEC, and the Independent better than the SEC too.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
What if we
yeah.
were to end the season right now and just look at it as it is right now? There's no game left. Who's the best conference? Who's the best conference in the nation right now?
The Big Ten, 100%. But in
So
my
you do
mind,
have the
it would
Big
be.
Ten right now.
But here's the thing: if they ended it right now, I would say Big Ten's the best. But guess what? First game of the season, Texas versus Ohio State. We'll decide who really is better.
So you're saying right now that the Big Ten is the best conference in the nation, and it's Texas's opportunity to take it back to the SEC.
Yep, it was. They would have had 3 teams in the playoffs if it wasn't for a head-to-head matchup.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I actually agree with you on that. I think it's neck and neck right now, and that the Ohio State Texas game is pretty much the tiebreaker. And we'll see what happens with Penn State. Yeah, we'll do a breakdown of these upcoming games first, or in a little bit. But I guess that's easy now, Derek. Easy with those horns. But we'll just see what happens, and we'll see which conference comes up on top. All right. It is time for the college football playoff semifinals. Let's start out with the first game is Notre Dame and Penn State. That's on Thursday, the 9th, January 9th. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5. I'll go first on this one. Um, I have been high on Notre Dame. I did pick Georgia to beat them, but it was one of those picks that it was just like I have to lean Georgia because of Kirby Smart and their history when they're in the playoff. And I thought that it was going to be a close game, but that Georgia would come away with it. I just thought that Georgia's defense was good enough to win a national championship. And whenever they needed to step up and play, they had been. Or maybe that was just against Texas. But that's why I picked Georgia. But I've also been saying that I think that Notre Dame is a legit team. And if they do come through Georgia, they have a chance to win the national championship. If they can just get through Georgia, I think that they are going to beat Penn State convincingly. Penn State and Texas have not played anybody, and I think that that's going to hurt them. I think that Penn State is going to hit a brick wall here. Notre Dame has an outstanding defense. They have a balanced team overall. Their offense is balanced. And I think that they have a championship built type of roster here. I'm taking the Irish by a convincing, I'd say about 2 scores, maybe more. I think the blow off or the blowout scenario is going to keep happening here. Uh, Again, brick wall here. I think Notre Dame wins this convincingly.
Yeah. Well, the key factor is which quarterback's going to show up. You know, you have Riley Leonard. Um, there's a quarterback for Notre Dame. He's a dual threat quarterback. He can
Mm-hmm.
pass, he can run, he can do all. But then you got Drew Aller. Drew Aller. What really sucks for Penn State is they lost their second quarterback, who was the guy who came in and ran, and he went in the transfer portal. But they seem to do well. Drew Alberts learned from it's learned from that what has happened, and it looks like a team that it looks like a player that can actually bring himself to have a possible win. But the same thing could be the same with Riley Leonard.
Mm.
But we'll see how this game goes. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. I think Penn State, they're here to fight. And I think Notre Dame is here for people to listen.
So, by how much?
By how much? Do I think it's going to be a 3 point game, 4 point game?
So you think it's gonna be closer?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I think both of these games are going to be close. I mean, this is what we brought the playoffs for. We're having close games.
Yeah, that hasn't been happening lately, except for one game.
Yep, Texas had to make it interesting. They didn't want the
Yeah,
they didn't want
interesting.
them to
That's
take the playoffs.
a good word for it.
They don't want them to take the playoffs away. So they're like, no, we gotta do so. We gotta let them in. So let's stop playing the second and third quarter and get them in.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next game, which is on January the 10th. Texas and Ohio State. Derek, I'll let you start on this one because I know you got a lot to say about this one. So tell us who you got, even though we already know, but tell us why you got the horns.
So okay, I definitely have the horns. Let me put it this way: that Texas Arizona State game was was a rare thing because what happened was defense didn't play well because the defense was on the field the majority of the time. What doesn't help with that is when your defense is there and then they get the ball back and then it takes 2 passes for Urs to score a touchdown, and the defense is right back on. And then they stop them again to find out they get a punt return, and then they're back on again. This does not help. This is probably the main reason why Arizona wore down the defense. It's one of the reasons. And we can score quick scores; they're great and all, but it's not going to happen against Ohio State. I think it's going to be a defensive possession and offensive possession pretty equal on both sides. I think Uris does well. It will take Uris to do well, and I also think it will take putting in Arch Manning and doing something different than they would think you would do. It's no
Hmm.
joke. It's something they need. They need to bring all their arsenals to win this game. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the defense will be getting more better rest in the beginning and reserving their energy throughout the game, just like Ohio State's defense will be too. I think it's going to be equal on both sides, and see who's going to fight in the trenches better. That's what it's going to be, and I think Texas will win that. Ultimately, will win that.
I think that Texas is like Penn State right now. They haven't played anybody. Um, I thought that Texas had a huge advantage whenever it came to matching up with Arizona State. I felt like Texas's strengths were Arizona State's weaknesses, and Arizona State's strengths on offense were Texas's strengths on defense. So I don't know why this was close, and the
You
fact that
turned
they
off the
let it.
TV.
I did. I thought it was over. I had turned off the TV. I left, been going on doing my thing, and I get a text that it's like, oh my gosh, I was wrong. Arizona State is back in this thing. And I was like, what? What do you mean they're back into it? I turned on my phone and I looked down and it was tied. And so I put it on immediately. And shortly after I turn it on, there's a flag for targeting. And I'm like, oh my God, Arizona State is going to win this. This is textbook targeting. They're going to get an automatic first down. Arizona State's going to win. And the ref comes out after the review. You can see he's taking a deep breath before his announcement. something weird is going on. And he said it wasn't targeting.
That's how it should be
And that
when
is
they check.
whenever things are like, what? What? Anyway, Texas, Arizona State still, even after that, it went to overtime. They had their opportunities. Texas capitalized off their opportunities. Arizona State did not. Uh, Arizona State would not. It was not a guaranteed win, them getting that first down, but they were in the driver's seat to get a, a fairly easy field goal attempt to win the game. Um, I have some concerns about Texas. Just I think they've got it coming. I think that they've slid by some teams that they had no business sliding by on, and they just have not gotten the challenging schedule that some of these other teams have had. And losing twice to Georgia, who got dominated by Notre Dame. I think that Ohio State is better than Georgia, and I think that Ohio State is playing really well. You talked about the chip on Will Howard's shoulder. I, I I I think Texas is running into a buzzsaw. I think they're going to hit a brick wall here, like Penn State, and I think both of these games are probably going to be blowouts. Notre Dame winning by double digits, and I think Ohio State will do the same. However, Texas does have the athletes to go to toe with Ohio State. It's Texas's coaching that concerns me. In the third quarter, Texas just doesn't show up. They let the other teams get back into the game, and you can't play like Texas has been playing against Ohio State. Texas let Clemson back into the game in the third quarter. Texas let Arizona State back in. And again, Clemson and Arizona State, they're not even close to the roster that Ohio State has. And Ohio State massacred Tennessee, massacred their rematch in Oregon. That's how you do a rematch right there. Ohio State and Oregon. So let's move on to the national championship, Derek. So you've got Texas and Notre Dame. Or did you take Penn State actually?
Well,
Did I catch
took
that
Penn
right?
State.
You did take Penn State, didn't you?
Oh no, I forgot. Notre Dame, I think I did. Notre Dame.
You said one of them won by 3. I don't remember. I thought it might have been
No,
Penn
no, I
State.
didn't pick. I didn't pick anybody. I did not pick anybody.
You
I said
didn't
it was
pick
3 or 4.
anybody?
No, I said we're gonna find out later. If I
Well, who are you
did, we're gonna
picking?
find out later. I'm going Notre Dame. Come on, somebody needs to be the next Joe Montana of Notre Dame.
All right. All right. So Notre Dame and Texas, Derek. I already know who you're picking, but why? Well, why are
Well,
you picking Texas?
well, let me get back to that. hmm Because that man's going to be on the sideline. Matthew McConaughey is going to do his job just like when he was on the sideline when Vince Young won the whole thing. Guess what? He's going to tell you how it is, how it's going to happen, and then you're going to get somebody, a character like Will Ferrell, showing up and trying to prove Matthew McConaughey wrong while USC is going to win their third national title. But you know what? Who's a fan for Notre Dame? What's his name from? He always did the Wedding Crashers. He was the Wedding Crashers. He's a fan. He was in Rudy. Can't think of his name. He's going to be on the other side, and he's going to make Notre Dame look like a fool and say how much better they are. But in the
He's
end,
going to crash
it
Texas's
doesn't.
party. That's what he's going to do.
In the end, it don't matter between them two because we all know Texas defense is going to make sure Notre Dame can't do anything, and Texas wins 10-0.
10-0.
Yup. Shutout. National championship.
Okay. Um. Well, I've got Ohio State and Notre Dame, and I'm gonna take Notre Dame.
That's where you messed up.
I
Because you're
just, I,
biased. You're
I,
SEC
I,
biased.
I'm a little biased on here, but there's something about Ryan Day, man.
He gets fired. Just watch.
Oh my God! If he gets fired for losing the national championship, that will be hilarious. Um,
Uh-huh.
there's just something about Ryan Day, and there's something about this Notre Dame team, man. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Notre Dame, man. I just am. I think that they are built like a championship team. I don't really trust Will Howard on Ohio State enough. Gosh, it's going to be close. I'm not going to be super surprised if Ohio State wins, but there's just a part of me, man, that Ryan Day, man, what does he do in these big games that everybody's watching, that everybody assumes they're going to win? Like the big ones. He doesn't win them. And Notre Dame, I think they're going to take Ryan Day's heart in this one. Notre Dame's your national champion.
Not happening. Notre Dame has no fat chance to win the national championship against Texas or Ohio State. It's not happening. There's no way Ohio State loses Notre Dame. It's not even close. Like close 7 points. It's gonna be 14 points.
So I think that this next week, like the semifinal games are going to be very telling of who the national champion's going to be. You know, if Ohio State absolutely runs over Texas and Notre Dame and Penn State is close, Ohio State. If they're both blowouts, Notre Dame and Ohio State winning, I think Notre Dame has a chance. If Ohio State and Texas is close and Notre Dame blows out Penn State, I think Notre Dame has a really good chance. I I think that I may even change my mind after the semifinal games. I don't even know if I'm going to stick with this. It seems each round I'm changing my national champion. So, um, yeah. We'll just have to see what happens. I don't really know about a score prediction. Again, I've got to see what's going to happen in the semifinals first. But I guess a guess would be 31-24 Notre Dame over Ohio State. So we will see what happens. It's going to be good ones. I hope so. I hope they're not all blowouts. I just think that's what's going to happen, but I hope I'm wrong. All right. Let's talk some college basketball here.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky, Derek. Did you see that?
Uh-huh. You didn't believe it's gonna happen.
Oh, how the mighty fall, don't they?
Yeah, it's more than one fall. Trust me on that.
Man, all I heard was how good Kentucky was and how bad John Calipari is and all this stuff and and how they're beating these really good teams and now they have 3 losses to unranked opponents.
Yeah. It's a horrible sight for Kentucky. But they're in a better position than my Longhorns, so take it. But Georgia's known to be football.
I know,
They're
isn't
great
it
at football.
interesting? But Alabama's doing the same thing.
Yeah, but Alabama actually is ranked. There's a big
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Uh,
But Georgia only has
uh,
one lot or 2 losses, I think.
it doesn't matter. They're not ranked for a reason.
Oh, they will be
And that
now.
And I told you that just because SEC has all these ranked games, wait till they get in conference play. It's going to screw it all up. And guess
Yep.
what?
Well, now
They're
we're gonna have more
losing.
ranked teams.
No, they're just going to show how weak that SEC is because, it doesn't help that these other schools are going to be better. We all know in the end, it's not going to be SEC in the finals, the four. I'm just saying, putting it out there.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's,
The
it's going to be
SEC against other
Connecticut.
conferences they've been beating other conferences. Their ranking or
Uh,
their games against outside conferences is actually very high. I don't know the exact number right now, but the head to head, the SEC is like it's leading by quite a large margin of victories.
but you got to think Georgia beat Kentucky 82-69. They're not even ranked, you
Yeah, I
know?
know. But I've also said that Kentucky's overrated because they're all offense. And as soon as you can get a defense that can slow down their offense, you're going to beat them. It's not a formula to win championships. Never has
And the,
been, and it won't be. They're the Gonzaga of basketball. It's just they're always going to come up short. That
but
style
Gonzaga's
does not
been good.
win big games. Huh?
How you? Come on, man. You're going to compare Gonzaga to them? Gonzaga's always had a legitimate team for the longest, and
Yeah, but they can't
unfortunately,
finish. And
it is what
Kentucky
it
beat
is.
Gonzaga this year.
Yeah, but you got to understand. There's other Tennessee couldn't even score 50 points today.
I know, dude. Wild. And they spanked Arkansas, dude. They beat Arkansas by like 24. And then they go and get
Shows
beat by 30 something.
shows you
Um,
how the weak the SEC. You know what? Arkansas might be the team Texas wins, right?
they lost by 30. Tennessee beats Arkansas by 24 and then loses by 30. So, dude, the road games, is that just a thing? Is it the road games? Home field
It has
advantage in the
nothing.
SEC is so strong, except for in Austin? Is that
It has
just
nothing to do with that. No,
Georgia won at
this.
home? Georgia won at home. Florida, who lost to Kentucky, slams Tennessee when they come back home. Kentucky beats
Mhm.
Tennessee or Florida convincingly at home. I mean, I don't know. Just wanted to do a quick reaction to, this Kentucky game. I mean, do you want to separate this? Do you want to separate it uh, game by game, like going on to the like Tennessee
Yeah,
game too, or just combine all of these?
let's separate it.
Okay, then let's stick to what's going on with this Kentucky game or Kentucky situation. Kentucky beats Florida. Let's see here. Where were we? Yeah, here we go. They beat Florida 106 to 100. Again, another indicator offensive only. When you score over 100 and you let the other team also score 100, that's not a recipe to win championships. It's just not. Um, then you put up only 69 against Georgia. They put up 82 on you because they have good defense.
Hmm. You know what
So,
really helps?
mm,
You know what really helps?
huh.
It's when you get more rebounds than the other team. 41
Dude, that
rebounds
is
like
an
Georgia.
underrated statistic. The team that rebounds more usually is the team that wins. Very underrated statistic.
Well, that's what Georgia did. They got more rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
They field goal percentage is higher. They had more turnovers, by one turnover more. Their 3-point percentage high. That's a recipe for success to me.
So, Derek, is Kentucky a top 10 fraud?
Right now they are. I wonder if my Longhorns beat them. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? If my Longhorns beat them, then they're a fraud for sure.
Then they're a
Or,
fraud.
or all of a
Let's
sudden my
see.
Longhorns just became great.
They go to Austin on the 15th of February. So,
Oh, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be rooting on Texas to beat Kentucky because they suck. And Longhorns, they can step on those Wildcats real
yeah.
badly.
All right. Well, just wanted to do a quick reaction here. I've been saying it for a while. Kentucky is going to get figured out. Whenever you play that style of basketball, you're going to get figured out. If your offense gets slowed down, you're probably not going to win. And this is what happens. They have some top 10 wins, but they have unranked losses. That's not You're not going to go very far in the tournament if you can't beat an unranked opponent. So, all right, well, we'll see what happens throughout the rest of SEC play, and let's see if Derek's right here, if the SEC slows down and there's a bit of a, what do you call it, a balancing out of everything, and the SEC comes back to reality and isn't as light years ahead as everybody else says that they are. We'll see you guys next episode. All right. Tennessee beats Arkansas by 24, then goes on the road to Florida, who lost at Kentucky. Tennessee, 15 points at the end of the first half. This isn't football. 15 points at the end of the first half. Wow. They put up 28 in the second half. Can't even get to 50. They lose 73-43. The number one team in the country gets smacked by 30 on their first road game in conference play against 0-1 in conference Florida. Now 1-1. Tennessee's now 1-1. Derek, what do you think of Tennessee, man? Do you think that this is just, that they came out just not ready and it's early and you're going to have stuff like this happen? Or are they not the top team in the SEC? Definitely not in the nation right now.
I'm
I mean, I
glad we got
assume
rid of Rick.
Auburn's probably going to take their spot, but
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm glad we didn't pick up. I'm glad we didn't keep Rick Barnes on Texas, because you know what? If he was really concerned about this, let me put it this way: the game started out 12-0.
mm,
Florida was up 12-0. And it wasn't like they were playing defense. It was like the first possession. The point guard or whoever had the ball bounces the ball on his foot and the ball rolls and they grab the ball and score. Then it happens,
all
and then all of a sudden the
right.
guy gets stuck, and then he tries to throw it at the guy's leg so it can go out of bounds and be Tennessee's ball again. But the guy smart jumps and the ball goes past them. They grab it, they score again. Then they do it again. They dribble it and it hits their foot again. They still score again. I mean, this you would think Rick Barnes would call timeout, settle things down. Hey, hey, hey. No, no, it was over from the first 12 points of the game. You know, I mean, you can look at this. Look at this. Let me see this chart. Okay, let's see if y'all can see this. Okay, y'all gonna see this. There. You see this? Where
It's
you see
blurry.
how
Oh, there we
that
go.
graph just that graph just got bigger and bigger lead. They never even try to get narrow the lead back in. It's ridiculous. No, come on. This is not the number one team. This is like the team's gonna lose to Texas. It's bad.
It's so strange you using like losing to Texas is like oh, don't lose to Texas.
Yeah, the only thing I can brag about
you
Texas is their football team. So hey,
That's fair.
yeah.
Um Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Texas is Auburn's good, man. Like Auburn is really good. Uh,
You,
they're gonna make some teams look really bad.
yeah,
I mean, I could see that. I think Auburn will probably curb stomp Arkansas. Um, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But man, uh, Tennessee, my God, just embarrassed Arkansas. John Calipari. Very next game, get obliterated by Florida, and then you got Kentucky beats Florida, and then Florida comes back and beats the number one team while Kentucky loses to unranked Georgia. Only in the
well, this whole
SEC,
season,
man. Only in the SEC.
it
So is
happens.
this showing that the SEC is not strong, or is this showing that the SEC has depth in
You
every
know,
team?
did you see the chart I just showed you? Did that look like depth? Did somebody just come in and try and narrow the lead? No, it went like this. Raise your legs, baby. That's all it was. I hate to
No, it
use that
did.
analogy, but that's true.
That didn't look like depth. You're right.
It's like, gosh, no.
It is going to be interesting to keep track of the SEC and what's going on, but well, I
But
guess we're
yeah,
just going to have to see what happens, and I think we're going to head out from here and do reactions throughout this week to other big games, big matchups, big upsets. We like the big upsets, and there were two today. Very, very crazy, crazy games on a Tuesday night. Crazy games. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got this far, please consider hitting that like button and commenting down below with your thoughts. We'll see you guys in the next video.